Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Cisa or Chris, and today we're playing WildStar. And we are about to queue for the Protostar Academies, and look at that, it just pops up right like that. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, that's how fast queues are in WildStar. No, I'll give you some background, don't worry. This was done on a Sunday, so during the weekend, so already you're going to have more people queuing up. This is the very first dungeon you can do. I was doing it level 10, and I queued as both support and DPS. So I was tank and DPS on my warrior. So really, if you're looking to queue in terms of when is a good time to queue for dungeons, I strongly recommend you try and do that during the weekend or during peak hours during the week. I did try just during a regular weekday, and it said the estimated time was like 30 minutes as a DPS or tank, which is pretty long. So I definitely try and do more of the dungeons during the weekend or peak hours during the week. But yeah, this is that way you can just see that, there is a possibility of insta queues. It's a thing that you can do if you do the dungeons at the right time. So let's talk about it. This is us continuing our journey on our shiny new warrior. Thanks for all the love we've been receiving for playing this class and for playing through the leveling experience. A lot of people who have played the game for a long time have been enjoying this series because they get to go back and sort of look at things they haven't seen in a long time. But also people who are new to the game or want to get into the game, this gives you a good sort of view of what you can expect from the game. And like I said, this is the very first dungeon. It's called the Protostar Academy, and what it does is it teaches you about mechanics in the game, and it does that better than any other tutorial dungeon I've ever seen in my entire time playing. What we're learning about a lot in this dungeon, as you can see right here, is interrupting. We just had to break 3 interrupt armor, and we made it so that we got a moment of opportunity where they turned purple and we could do more damage. We're also learning about telegraphs here. We're doing some running through fire, which is quite easy really at that part, but it does do damage if you get into the fire. You should also note that we're killing the bosses extremely quick because we do have a level 50 in our group, which can or cannot happen. Like, it's not a guaranteed thing you're gonna have your own level 50, but it's not a long dungeon. I'd say between 10 and 15 minutes, which is great for a first dungeon. And it gave an exceptional amount of experience. I think I got a level pretty much through it. What you'll notice right here actually is one of my favorite parts of the entire experience. And I know a lot of people wouldn't say that when you lose half your party to one mechanic, but what a lot of games that have a tutorial dungeon do is they make it so easy that no matter what you do, you're probably not going to fail. What's really nice about this is that people actually have to pay attention to the mechanics. Like, you have to get out of the red or you're going to die. So we actually end up wiping here with a level 50 in our group in Protogames Academy, Protostar Academy. I think that sounds right. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up right now. You guys get the gist of it. But it's really great that you can wipe, that there is that risk there, because it makes people take the dungeon a lot more seriously, and it makes you learn the mechanics of the game a lot more seriously. So we are going to wipe right here as I'm not able to take this guy down by myself. It's also a great dungeon because it teaches you kind of the roles you have to play. Specifically, I'm tanking on my warrior, but you could be healing for the first time, or even if you're DPSing and you're not very used to interrupting or anything like that, it teaches you a lot about how you have to be playing your class, which I think is an exceptionally good thing to learn. So this boss here, we're kind of bringing in all the different mechanics we saw. As a group, we learned that we need to get to the area here before the red. It teaches you to use your movement skills there, which you saw me do on my warrior. And let's talk about how fun warriors are to play with all this movement skill. We do a drop down red telegraph there. It does a good job of using pretty much all the telegraphs you're going to see. And what I like also about this is that it's very quick. It's from one area to the next to the next. It's very linear. There's little chance to get lost, whereas Sanctuary of the Sword Maiden, for instance, you could get lost as shit. If that was somehow their first dungeon, like just imagine the same dungeon, but really easy. people would get so lost in it, and it's nice because like at high levels it's kind of fun to have an open concept dungeon when you're just exploring the game, but for your first tutorial dungeon you want it very linear, you want it very clear where you go and very clear what the objective is. So here we're going to learn a bit more about dragging monsters around. This is really the tanking aspect of it, which, you know, at this point, I'm still not a great tank, but at least I know where my taunt key is, which is good. I'm fairly actually excited to try tanking, you know, Storm Talon's Lair and stuff on a warrior, as I've done it on an engineer tank before, but I've never done it on a warrior tank, or I've said this in a few videos now that I just, for some reason, never made a warrior. Maybe it's because like a lot of my friends had warriors that they played and stuff like that, and I was just like, okay, cool, they've got the warrior. There's no reason for me to make one too. But yeah, it's been a real whole different experience playing a different class, which is something that's really great about the game. We talked about that last time, how unique each of the classes do feel, and I definitely appreciate that. You can see we do level up throughout the dungeon. What's really nice about it is some games make it so that you get all the experience at the very end of the dungeon. And because of that, it's essential that you do complete the dungeon. Not that you wouldn't complete this dungeon. It would be really hard to fail this dungeon, but it's nice that you do get sort of a bit of experience after each stage. And because of that, it kind of makes it feel rewarding the whole way around. And you're like, all right, what am I going to get from this? What am I going to get from this stage? And it's very nice that way. The dungeon also does close with a pretty large boss fight scenario, which is good for people who are starting the game. It shows off that the game does introduce large bosses in terms of actual size of the monster, but also in terms of the amount of mechanics and stuff that they do bring to the table. One thing that, you know, kind of feels, and you'll see by watching it right now, a little bit about it, is that because of how much DPS we had, because we had a level 50, we had to just pretty much wait for the boss to kind of go through certain mechanics before we could start DPSing it again. And whenever you're in a fight just standing there waiting for the boss to do something next, it's never a great design. So maybe it could have scaled a little bit higher with a 50 in the group. I'm not sure. Or maybe maybe the level 50 should be scaled a fair bit down, because they clearly, like if you look at the DPS meter, like are just blowing everyone out of the water. So something's not quite perfect about that, but hey, what are you going to do? I mean, it's kind of nice if you are a level 50 and you're trying to like just get your new friend through these dungeons really quick, that you can kind of do that, but it makes it feel a lot less impactful for the rest of the group. But, you know, coming back to it, this is the first time I've done this dungeon in a really long time. I thought it was a really good experience for myself to kind of learn tanking on a new class again. But I think it's a great experience for anyone who's just starting the game, or even just trying to level. And you know, everyone likes to take a break from questing. As fun as it is, questing gets tiring, and dungeons are fun. So yeah. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.